Welcome to Spirituality for White Women for March 30th, 2026. There is the modern version of spirituality for white women, the selfie out in nature, right? Going camping out in nature, doing the YouTube video, having the hundreds of thousands of views, living in your car, going here, going there, putting it on Facebook, becoming prettier yourself because of the red rocks behind you, Sedona, Arizona. The point is the modern woman sees herself as nature-loving and spiritual through the selfies that she posts on the internet and the likes that she gets. However, there is a certain amount of responsibility that the modern white woman is missing, that her fellow sisters won't tell her about. While her brothers are killing like there is no tomorrow in the Middle East, with their goal to cool the Middle East and help bring this greater Israel project forward, why are they not doing their part to do at least what my mother did, was to bring forth a form of life that is a mix of the people of the bombs as well as your people, and actually, oppose this neo-Nazi system by introducing diverse life into this world. So we don't just have little neo-Nazi white fuckheads being born. Because right now, as I look at the modern school system, right, as I look at the behaviors of the people right now in the school that's in the news, you're seeing a lot of damaged people out there that are still some of the same expressions of DNA. We're not really a society that I can see where the women of this culture like men that are different, especially not here in Dallas. Things are very in the box, very square. Everybody's staying with their own kind or with their own people, if anything but diverse. And so the real form of spirituality that I see is actually someone that does and says the things that are necessary to prevent genocides, essentially. And what modern society is doing, what modern social media is doing, is promoting the idea of nature tourism, narcissism. And it's like people talk about venerating nature and going back to nature without understanding what nature is. They're acting like it's unnatural that I exist. They're acting like it's unnatural that I was born. They're acting like it was unnatural, this, that, and the other. There's a real brainwashing within our AmeriCult, spelled with 3 Ks instead of 1 C. There's a real brainwashing within our AmeriCult with regards to what is natural. And we're being mind-controlled to the unnatural. We're being mind-controlled to the aliens, the extraterrestrial. We're being recloned and destroyed in this lifetime and in these lifetimes. These are the final days of mankind. And so while people are immersed with technology and trying to go back to nature, they're failing to understand that their politicians are creating a genocide of billions of people around the world where they control who the victor is of the wars. They're actually destroying humans, one type of human at a kind, before they actually go after all of us. So for people to actually connect with nature, they need to connect with their heart and actually care about what's happening to other human beings. That's going back to nature. Otherwise, we have nature worship, which historically has sent humans in different directions. The worship of nature over the worship of God. Because this is not a heaven. This is a hell. It's a green hell, but it's still hell. It's a fleshy hell, it's a physical hell, but it still is hell. And that's what we are now inheriting here on the planet, hell on earth. Because that's what they have turned it into, hell on earth. And we're just progressing to the next chapter. So the most progressive thing that women can do, other than social media and narcissism, is actually doing something with that device to actually make a stand against the murder of people that look like me and actually open up their heart and actually connecting with something greater that gives us access to technology to begin with. Because at this point, clearly, humanity has lost the right to reproduce. And that's why we're going to be facing certain things on this planet, and certain things are going to be manifesting because we're facing a collective punishment here on the planet. because people have misused their ability to procreate. And they have procreated with the wrong people, and they have refused to be parents. They have refused to teach these kids. They have refused to warn them about the nature of evil. So as a result, there is a almost seemingly infinite supply of foot soldiers for the coming conflicts, because they refuse to teach them about our history as a people. And those that forget history are doomed to repeat it. And we're repeating the history of Nazi Germany right now. We are repeating Nazi Germany right now, and it's going to be longer and worse. And way more people that look like me are going to be removed from the planet in large numbers because of what they're doing. Okay, and they're open about it. And here in Texas, this is ground zero for the neo-Nazi agenda, as they declare they want 100 million people removed from America. There's not even that many foreigners in America. That is so traumatizing every day that I wake up in tears, crying for hours until 3 a.m. in the morning, that I moved to one of the most racist states that has ever existed in the history of the human species. And they're allowing their children to incarnate this, to receive this, to participate in this, to inherit this. They are about to inherit this. And so, if women want to connect with nature and spirituality, it's connecting with the people that your people are destroying. And I haven't seen any of you women out there in my audience or in my family treat me as a human being. And that's why I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to use this channel, and I'm going to express my opinions, and I'm going to express my feelings. And if you want to talk to me, if you want to communicate with me, you can email me at whatinthehell.is-going-on@proton.me. That's whatinthehell.is-going-on@proton.me. Okay, and I'm going to focus more of my attention towards helping women with my channel, because years of trying to help men in general has just been taken for granted. You know, and right now men are too self-interested in their own relationships and their own families and their own wars and their own agendas and their own perception of this, that, and the other, that there's only so much that I can do for them and them for me. It's only natural that I want to continue to exist. Now, there are a lot of things that modern women can do for people of the backgrounds that are being removed off the planet in large numbers, other than having sex with them, other than having relationships with them. That's why I'm looking at this as an evil society that I can't really protect. You know, I talk a lot about, American affairs. I talk a lot about the UFC being violent. You know, I talk a lot about this media programming that's bringing us into this dystopian reality. I talk about it nonstop. But I can't stop what's coming if people are still creating the causes and conditions and sending these demonic spirits into our earth, into our atmosphere, into our reality. And as more evil comes into our reality, more people become possessed. More horrible things take place. And so, if women really cared about women, men, family, society in general, they wouldn't allow the human gene pool to become so dominated by the same expressions. They would do their part with the gifts that God gave them to manifest another expression other than the same kind of stormtrooper that we've been dealing with for a very long time. And so, as far as I'm concerned, my birth, 1980, represents sort of a new man. It's too different. And as a result of that, in my lifetime, I've come upon certain understandings, and I've made certain discoveries that no one else on earth has. And that gift comes from heightened intelligence that comes from the actual proper, what's the word I'm trying to use here? A healthy birth, essentially, in a time-space reality where two different people were brought together, where today they would be repelled, and they are repelled. So in that sense, there was something magical about it, and even if they didn't stay together, even if they divorced, even if they hate each other, they did create something. That while today I'm not appreciated, I do understand a lot of things that can help a lot of people. So essentially, somebody can do their part for the shift of ages by creating a special child who basically is going to fulfill a mission. Doesn't mean necessarily that people can manifest that through their willpower and their prayers. You know, you imagine people bringing forth a child through the act of lovemaking. You know, that will be like a super baby, at least with regards to intelligence and spirituality and a soul essence. You know, I don't know, but I think that it's possible. And even if they're not necessarily doing it with, I don't know that there is a perfect way to do it, but if certain things are just right, and like with my parents, it was Portland, Oregon, it was 1978, 1979 that I was fornicated, and I was born in 1980. Those were spiritual years. Those were creative years. Those were magical years. And so it's a result of that, and perhaps how the food was different then, and the music was different then, and then we had the influence of the solar cycle over the combination of my genetics coming together, essentially. That created the modern me. And so that's what I'm getting to. However, when it comes to the world of the New Age and the world of astrology and the world of this and the world of that, they don't really talk about things like this. They talk about the crystal children. They gave promises of those things, yet when we look at these children that are not very diverse, that are in the schools, that are still some of the same prototype people, we see the same disturbances. And in fact, it's far worse now with the social media influence. And so, there needs to be, basically like real modern hippies, basically, that don't believe in a master race. And people believe in just whites and blacks together. Yeah, they also believe in a master race. Just whites and blacks against everybody. So we don't really have diversity represented at all in our society. And I don't think that your world would be more fucked up if there would be more people like me on the planet that are of a mix of the East and the West. There's a relative that I have. I don't know her very well, but her name's Zoe. She's been featured on in Newsweek for filming her dog crying to the Lion King. I don't really know her very well, but she's a distant relative, very, very attractive. Okay, and she doesn't look like, her relatives or ancestors are from, a certain place. And then you have another relative of my father's, who's an author of various books on Afghan history, very intelligent person, not spiritual, as far as I understand, doesn't really like my content, as far as I understand to the best of my, knowledge, but highly intelligent. So her, highly beautiful, him, highly intelligent. And then there's me, with both beauty, to a certain degree, but not to all, intelligence, and also intuition. And so the reality is, they want to deport, in our last minute here together, they want to deport certain heritages from the planet, not to keep you safe, but to put you in danger, right? Because there's an evil in this world that wants to colonize this world and take it over. And I don't believe that they want to have certain types of humans on it as far as their agenda. So the only way to counter it, as far as this is concerned, as long as we continue to have births and things like that, is to have a real resistance. Okay, when we look at what is the one thing that's different about me versus a lot of people in my audience that don't have empathy for the people that are being killed, it's ancestry. It's blood. So if they want to cull those people and create a world without them, the only way modern